I'm a teen about to have a birthday and I've got a tween autistic brother. He uses his iPad for everything. To eat, sleep and get ready for school. Everything. He goes through 7 or 8 iPads a year, which is a tremendous financial strain on my parents. We were supposed to go to my favourite restaurant and an escape room for my birthday, and my parents were meant to be paying for most of that, but I saved some of my money to help them out. My brother broke his iPad again last week, so my parents had to pay for a new one, and they said they wouldn't be able to take me out for my birthday. I said that was fine because I still had enough money to take myself for dinner, so I asked them for my saved money back, and they told me they had to use it for the new iPad. I got really upset by this and asked them why they do that without even telling me first, and they said they knew I'd say no and that my brother needed the iPad. I said that my brother could have waited a week, that I never come first, and that they needed to prioritise me for once over him. They both got angry at me and now aren't going to be doing anything for my birthday because they said I need to stop being so selfish and stop being an idiot because I'll never know how hard it is to raise an autistic child and that his needs will always come before my wants. Am I the idiot for telling my parents I need to come first for once? Not the idiot. Dude, they took your saved money and then punished you for getting mad that they took your money. And they got mad that you asked to come first just once. That would send me over the edge. I really get upset when I read these stories about a child having to take a backseat to a sibling with special needs. It's so unfair, and my heart goes out to you. Your parents are doing you a disservice, and it's just plain cruel. The only thing I can think of is to perhaps contact a family member, an aunt or uncle, or grandparents if they're in the picture, and explain your life to them. They might be able to help you out. This post honestly broke my heart. OP saving up their own money to throw themselves a birthday party and to have that stolen from them and told to deal with it. So cruel. Also, what the heck is bro doing to his iPads? Both my kids have autism, and as crappy as their Amazon tablets have gotten over the years, there is not one crack on the screen, and they were tantrum happy at the ages they got them. Your parents are stupid. Why aren't they getting insurance for devices or warranties? 7 to 8 iPads a year is insane to me. And they're Apple iPads? Absolutely insane. Right? Come on, if he's truly that violent and going through that many a year, then for goodness sake stop buying him damn iPads. He doesn't need something that expensive. Why do your parents have your money? Regardless, they stole from you. Them being angry and calling you selfish reeks of guilt. They know they're doing the wrong thing here but want to shift the blame. Raising an autistic kid is hard, but being a sibling to one also comes with its own challenges, and I say this as an autistic person myself. They had 2 children, they needed to parent them both. Is it harder and more exhausting given these circumstances? Yes, but that doesn't give them the right to neglect you. Sadly, when you move out at 18 and rarely call or visit, they'll be all over you. But until then, benign neglect is the way to go. Hint, benign neglect never is benign to the neglected. I hope you still have a wonderful birthday. I, 31 female, have had my cat Sally since I was 18. I found her as a kitten outside my college dorm. We've been together since. I also have a daughter, pre-tween, who loves Sally too. I met her father through Sally. He worked at a pet store when I first got her. I never owned a cat before, so I ended up asking a lot of questions. He gave me his number and the rest was history. We were engaged and planned to get married after my daughter was born. He died in a crash when I was 7 months pregnant. It was the darkest period of my life. Without Sally, I don't think I'd still be alive today. The problem is my current boyfriend. I had no desire to date for a long time after my fiancé's death. I was devoted to my daughter and cat. Then, around a year and a half ago, I met Jeff, 34 male, at a party. We started chatting and had a lot in common. I explained my past to him and told him my daughter was my priority. He said he understood because he's a dad to a boy with his ex. On our first date, I showed him a picture of my daughter holding my cat and told him all about Sally. He just said that she was very cute. We began to get serious. I could see a future with him. 2 months ago, we met each other's kids at the park. We all got along great, so I was happy. Then he stayed the night at my house for the first time a couple of weeks ago. He'd never been inside my house for more than 30 seconds. My daughter was gone for the weekend and his son was with his ex. He suggested that we have a relaxing weekend to ourselves and he came to my house. Within half an hour of him being there, he was sick. His face was red and leaky. He had a nasty rash and some trouble breathing. He then told me he's been severely allergic to cats since childhood. We left to go to his house. I asked him why he hadn't told me about his allergy before. He said he hadn't been around cats for a while and hoped his allergy had faded over the years. He said he'd still like to stay at my house sometime. I questioned how we do that with Sally. Immediately said, "Just have your mom take it or drop it off at the shelter." I told him that I would never get rid of Sally. He was hurt that I'd choose just some cat over his comfort in my home. Plus, my mom loves Sally, so I'd still be able to see her if she stayed at her house. The argument escalated. He was mad and made a weird comment about how I keep my cat only because of my dead fiancé, that I'm having an emotional affair with some dead guy. He said Sally is old and will die soon anyway, so it doesn't matter. She's still very healthy. He'd been so kind and understanding before, I was caught off guard and hurt. I broke up with him. My mom got upset about how I'd ruined everything. She's wanted me to find a new boyfriend since my fiancé's death. My friends have been saying I shouldn't have ended things over this and made a compromise with him. The negative feedback has made me wonder if I was too harsh. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Someone who is okay with just dropping a pet that a person has had for over a decade at a shelter so callously shows the side of a person I wouldn't be interested in dating, especially not the way he automatically went to an emotional affair so quickly. It makes me think he may have problems with a man's child down the road as well. Also, OP, you should have a conversation with your mom. Jeff showed some red flags that your mom is okay with, so you have a man is concerning. And it's her daughter's pet too. He has a kid, yet he can't see how horrifying it is to suggest dropping a beloved child's pet off at a shelter. If I was in OP's friend circle, I'd be riding at dawn. I can't believe she has friends who think she overreacted. If anything, she underreacted. I'd be trying to figure out how to get cat hair into his car. I like you, you're my kind of petty. He said just have your mom take it or drop it off at the shelter. Ha ha, eat crap, sir. I don't know why your mom and friends think a guy who wants you to get rid of your cat for him is worth even a second of your time. The lack of empathy in that sentence alone is enough to run for the hills. It's not just about the cat, it's about how he doesn't see it as a living being. My boyfriend, 28, and I, 27 female, have been dating for 3 years. I'm a physical therapist and he's in residency for internal med, which will last 4 to 6 years, depending on what he wants to specialize in. We met in college when he was in med school and I was in the PT graduate program. He's in year 1 and his salary is barely enough to cover rent. The rent is $2,600 for both of us and $1,300 a person, not including utilities. It's expensive because we have to live near the hospital as he has to call sometimes. With food, car insurance, gas, etc., he's just making it. And with interest rates on his student loans, he doesn't want to take more out to live. I make over double what he does and he wants me to cover most of the rent. But I feel hesitant because he said he doesn't want to get married until he's done residency and becomes a fully qualified doctor. We've been dating for 3 years and living together for over 2, and I feel like waiting 3 to 5 more years to get married is way too long. He says it's because he can't marry me with so many loans. But I have a lot of loans as well. Not as much as him, but it's not like we both don't have a lot of student debt. I also just started making this much money and have been putting in lump sums to pay off my student loans. I just feel like if he's going to wait so long, he probably isn't sure about this relationship, and I don't want to pay into a relationship he doesn't feel confident enough about to go further in. I told him I don't want to pay more towards rent until marriage, and he's accusing me of pushing him before he's ready. I've dropped the topic of marriage, but he keeps pushing for me to cover more rent, saying if I'm not willing, how can he consider the relationship serious enough for marriage? We also want kids, and I don't want them out of wedlock, so in 3 to 5 years, I will be 30 or 32 before we even try for a child. I'm not saying we will have one now, it's too early, but I'm not sure this timeline works for me, especially since we've been dating for 3 years. But he thinks I should cover more even if we weren't serious enough for marriage, since I make more. Not the idiot. I'm sure you know all the I put you through med school and you dump me after you're making the big bucks stories. I'm not saying boyfriend is one of those, but you'd be silly to ignore the phenomenon. What would he be doing if he was single? Asking a roommate to pay more? No, he would only ask a girlfriend. He obviously needs you to subsidize his life but won't give you any scrutiny in return. His job requires living in a high-rent area, so he's close enough for on-call, but he wants you to subsidize his convenience, yet doesn't want to talk about marriage after being together this long. If money is the problem, Most folks look for something cheaper, but apparently only he gets to be cheap. There are many stories about people who help their partners during studies, residency, internship, just to be abandoned when their partner no longer needed their help. This is a popular scheme. You have the right to protect yourself. Can't marry you because I have loans is a bizarre notion. What, will those loans disappear once he becomes a fully licensed doctor? No, he'll have them for years and years. Honey, he won't marry you because he's already reaping the rewards, meaning he has no more benefits to gain with marriage. Cut your losses and move on. I've been with my husband for 4 years, married for 1. He has 3 kids from his ex-wife. Admittedly, he has a strained relationship with his kids because his ex-wife and he had a bitter divorce. She took the kids and left the country. There was a lot of parental alienation going on. The kids live in a boarding school in their home country. They visit their mum on the weekends and spend holidays with us. The kids are 2 teens and a tween. 4 months ago, their mom sadly passed away. My husband has full custody and wants to move the kids back once this semester finishes. The kids don't want this as they're comfortable in boarding school and have their maternal family there. They have asked their maternal grandparents to fight for custody. They don't have the means to do that. My husband is still insistent. I told him he was being selfish. After losing their mom, it's not a good idea to rip them away from their only other support system. That boarding school has been their home for most of their lives, and it would be cruel to rip them away now. I suggest taking this more slowly or even moving there to be near them. I work remotely and my husband can move his job. My husband is furious at me, accusing me of being an evil stepmom and hating the kids. He says he's rethinking our marriage. I don't know what to do. I want what's best for the kids. They live in Northern Europe and we live in the US. I hate the schools here, not to mention all their extended family is there. I just don't think they would react well to this change, and it would only alienate them more. Am I the idiot? Edit, I feel like I need to add this. My husband doesn't want to move back, mainly because of his ex's family. My husband's parents and his ex, let's call her Laura, were best friends, so my husband and Laura grew up together. They started dating at 19. At 20, my husband lost his parents, so Laura's family took him in and supported him through university. When Laura got pregnant with their youngest, she said she wanted to move to the US, so they did with the help of her family. When the youngest was 1 year old, a man reached out to my husband, claiming to be the possible father of the kid. Turns out Laura had been having an affair for 2 years and the whole family knew. That's why they insisted on moving to the US, because Laura herself didn't know who the father was and the guy wanted a paternity test. Long story short, a test was done, hubby was the father. She moved back with the financial support of her family, and my husband was left alone in the US. Since then, he's been no contact with the whole family and bit his tongue for the sake of the kids, but moving back would mean seeing them regularly. These were people he considered to be his second parents. Laura's siblings he considered his siblings. It sucks to be the only compassionate and thinking person in a couple, doesn't it? OP, all your reasons to leave the children in place and move yourselves to be near them and their support system and extended family sound really well thought out. Yeah, you really sound like an evil stepmother for that. But yeah, imagine the crap show if 3 upset teenagers are brought to another continent to live, away from their school, friends and maternal family, just because, what, their dad can? Because he has full custody? Watch him flex his power since his ex is dead and she can't stand in his way. Or does he not want to spend the money on the boarding school? And your husband is rethinking your marriage because you disagree with him. Maybe he isn't the only one that should be rethinking things. Not the idiot. It's astounding he had a contentious divorce from his children's mother. Truly a mystery how that might have happened. OP, I think your suggestions make the most sense. But if the dude had his kids ripped away from him like you describe, then I get him wanting to make the most of this opportunity to have a relationship with them without any parental alienation interference. But ripping them away from their entire support network, friends and a school they adore will not build a great relationship with them. It's just going to alienate them further, and they'll go completely no contact when they're 18. Your husband is being selfish, and his kids are going to resent him for it. My 22 female boyfriend, 26, unfortunately just lost his mom, 46, to breast cancer a couple of weeks ago. She got the diagnosis in early 2020 and started treatment right away, but had a lot of adverse side effects and eventually decided to stop treatment altogether about a year ago. So we knew this was coming for a while, but it's been hard now that she's gone. We only started dating a couple of months ago before her diagnosis, so I've tried to be as supportive as possible for most of our relationship. He's obviously grieving, and I'm hurting for both him and his mother. He's come over a lot in the past couple of days, and I feel like he really needs me right now. The funeral was yesterday, and I assumed I'd be sitting next to him for support because I didn't know anyone else. Traditionally, the immediate family sits together up front, but he told me that I'm basically family to him because we know we're getting married sometime in the next year. So it was him, his dad, his brother's wife, and me. Nobody said anything about it, so I assumed it was okay. And I made sure to stay out of about 90% of the family pictures and give them their space during more intimate parts of the service. Well, now many of his family, friends and extended family are gossiping about it, and I feel bad. I didn't realize it was such a big deal where I was sitting. Am I the idiot for sitting next to my boyfriend at his mom's funeral? Not the idiot. There. People are dissing you for being supportive of your boyfriend because what exactly? If your boyfriend had a problem, he could have said so. Ask him if he had a problem, and if he did, apologize, then let it go. There will always be folks who gossip over petty things, so don't take it to heart. Exactly. And if she'd sat away from him, those gossipy hens would be clucking about that. Those people are behaving atrociously. Events like this bring out the worst in people. In this case, all the harpies are now flocking to point fingers at whoever they can, when really this should be about grieving as you need and supporting those struggling. OP, I consider you family. You've been there for him since before and through his mother's illness. There are too many people who would have run and left him in that situation. I rate that kind of girl the same as I rate those complainers. Your boyfriend wanted you beside him. No one else's opinion matters. His mom would have wanted you to be there for him.